name is Gaetan Pelletier. I'm the Executive Director of the Northern Hardwoods Research Institute. This three-part video series is inspired by a presentation that we made at the Forest and Bees Industry Forum in Fredericton on March 16th, 2023. In this final video, we will see how we can put those concepts into practice so we can come up with solutions to change the situation with hardwoods in our province. At the end of the day, we need to practice restoration silviculture in much of the hardwood forests of New Brunswick. And the overarching goal is really to restore compromised stands through harvest-based silviculture with the goal to recruit new cohort of desired species and then to maintain and release the existing acceptable growing stock. Depending on stand type that we are dealing with, usually we need to open up the stand more than we would usually and maintain, however, a minimum basal area. So while we're creating openings, we recover trees that carry saw logs in them today, but are of low vigor and at risk of losing saw logs and value. At the same time, we are releasing small trees, pole-sized trees, and medium trees of acceptable growing stock. We're also creating germination beds so that seeds can find the right substrate, germinate, and form the next cohort of trees. So once this regeneration is in place and has had time to grow and developed into a nice sapling strata, then we can conduct intermediate treatments so that we can release those saplings and control competition. These treatments typically would be pre-commercial thinning, and if we delay long enough, can be commercial thinnings. So when we do this, very often we have the ability to create the conditions so that a new cohort can get established. And then we're now starting to develop multiple ages in our once degraded stand. So through successive treatments in time, we will conduct partial harvesting, we will release crop trees of quality, cut large trees that are no longer producing saw logs and are at risk of losing value. And we keep doing this on cycles, and now we're on a pathway to a better forest. So this regime is called the irregular silviculture system, which is a process of regeneration. It consists of successive partial cuts that are used to establish regeneration. And then we maintain protective cover. The treatments are spread over a longer period that don't exceed usually 1/5 of the rotation. So the steps are do the seed establishment cut, which are followed by one or several secondary cuts, and then the final harvesting can be spread at different parts of the stands at different time. When we surveyed about 5,000 hectares of hardwood stands in New Brunswick, we found that this is the system that was recommended very, very often. There are several variants of this irregular shelterwood system, and one of the most common is what we call at the Northern Hardwoods Research Institute the continuous cover 2-age extensive system. We have gone through great lengths to really document those silviculture regimes and those systems, and everyone has a section about which stands are eligible to receive those treatments. We describe treatment objectives, describe the treatment, but a very important part is we detail what are the desired outcomes immediately after the treatment is conducted, in the midterm and in the long term, and we always introduce the key success factors that are required to properly implement. But the most important part is how to implement these treatments. So we talk about the sequence. How do you conduct actions so the treatment is done well? So we talk about what harvesting system to use, the harvesting season that is preferred. But then we say, look at the trail network. We have recommendations. Once that trail network is well done, you focus on the treatment strip between harvester trails, and then we look at what is the residual density that we should be leaving in terms of basal area, what are the cut priorities, and then the cutting instructions by size and size of trees, and then species. So we really encourage you to go and investigate all this silviculture, and our website will give you all kinds of documentation and tools, and there's even a phone app you can use to do an assessment of your stand, a diagnostic, and then there's a recommended treatment, and you can get instructions how to implement it. In essence, what we're saying is it is really imperative that we change the way we're planning our hardwood management, and deviate from the softwood model, and embrace a framework that we've introduced through this series of videos and the presentation made at Forest NB in Industries Forum in Fredericton. And hopefully implementing the regime that we are proposing should close the gaps that we've discussed in this series, namely that our mature tree layer is changing for the worse in terms of species composition. The second issue is that our regeneration is failing. We're not able to establish the cohorts of trees that we need for the future. The third challenge is that our annual level cut is going down because we're not sustaining the growth rates that we could be if we implemented the proper silviculture. And then finally, there's much thinking to be done about the way we're planning our activities. So this brings an end to this series of 3 videos, and as usual, we really invite you to check our website, and all the information we talked about today is out there and in much more detail and right down to a prescribed system. Thank you for listening to us, and good luck.